Well, Fred Schechter, right? Is that I pronounce it right? I screwed it up the first time.
Schechter.
I remember Schechter. Now we met before. I interviewed you for a great product you had, and actually you still have. That people should get the Foobler is this great toy. You have one there to show them.
Of course I do.
Yeah, I mean this
the
is.
brain pod's missing right now. But
I see.
Yes, indeed. That's
Yeah.
you put
And
your
that
kibble in there
feeds
for
your dog all day with you not being there, and it's a great invention. And but you've been doing this kind of work for a long time, and you and your friends, you have a design firm, I guess. You worked for big companies before, and now you're doing this. But what I want to share your knowledge with, and it's so nice of you to agree to do this, because I think it's important for people to realize you don't need a gazillion dollars to come up with an idea and a prototype anymore with the technology.
No, you really don't. The nice thing is there's so many options to execute parts at a level that looks professional enough to where you can go, okay, I can really move forward with this.
Well, like what you did on the Foobler. I mean, you just built one after all the work you put into it, but all you needed was one. You made a video, and you got $86,000, right?
Well, that had considerably more than just one. That was, keep in mind, that particular unit was quite a labor.
Yeah.
And with the electronics and everything. But working back to kind of lower fidelity first versions of things that people are trying to make. So you've got a cloth type item, you've got a plastic item, you got a plastic with electronics item. It used to be, you actually had to have somebody that was an electrical engineer to do anything with electronics.
Yeah.
And an actual mold guy and a prototype guy who weren't even the same people. Now you can go, get one of these kits called Arduino. There's a bunch of different open source electronics kits you can get. Arduino is one kind of overarching
Now,
flavor.
what does
of
Arduino do?
Arduino is an open source electronics platform. So you can get, basically, they have their basic kind of shield, and then there's lots of add-ons and sensors and stuff. And there's a bunch of different versions you'll see with that, and some other great open source pieces of electronics that you can go to places like Spark Fun, or even regular electronics stores are carrying them now, and a bunch of kind of hobby stores as well, where you can get an electronics kit, program it with your computer. You hook it right up to the USB port. It's got a nice little port, and it's like, oh no, I don't know how to program. It takes really simple programs to operate.
Well, like what? What would it make do it? I mean, you've done it before, but okay, so sensors and motors and stuff like that. Okay,
if you had to make something electronic, I would say,
like what?
Let's
something
say something
simple
that had a temperature sensor and a timer and a motor and a light.
So in other words, you want to see when you should water your plants or something like that.
Or you want your plant to tell you when it should water it because it's too dry. So your plant's going to know it's too dry if the dirt's really dry. So if I got a humidity sensor that we stuck in the ground, and then we had a clock that's in there that we set to the right time, and then we had a solenoid valve that turns the water off and on, now we can program it to say if that humidity number gets below a certain number you program in, then water until your water.
And I don't have to know how to code like a computer or anything.
Know, but
a little
these
bit,
are all things that if you're starting out, you need to know where to find the information you need. So because you have the web, because you're watching this live on the web, you have Google. You have Bing, you have all those.
Yes.
You can type in, how do I program? And for instance, on this Arduino stuff, there are so many tutorials online to how to learn just to do the electronics side. Then we come over to
well, let's stop on the electronics side a little, because it sounds like that if it's that ubiquitous now against people are doing, that means there's a lot of people who are not charging a lot of money. They could probably do it for you too, right?
There are people. There are a bunch of service bureau type places that also have an area for makers. So Shapeways, Pinoco, and a number of others have a thing where it's like, if you need help working on your project, go here. There are a bunch of great forums. MakerBot has some great stuff. I'm sorry, not MakerBot. Instructables has some really great forums and really great places to learn about these things. If you've gone to instructables.com, then you want to go to making the 3D part of your thing, whether it's cloth or flat parts or actually 3D printed parts. And you can do that anywhere from going to a company like Spoonflower that'll custom print you 1 square yard of printed material that'll look exactly like you want it. You know, you want to draw a satellite picture of your home from Google, or you want to draw your favorite race cars all over it. Great, they'll print it.
Or even like a new watch design or something you had in mind.
So there you would go, and that's more 3D printing. So what do? You sketch, you sketch, you sketch. Then you download any one of many 3D modelers that are available out there for free, and you model that up. And then what do you got to do? You need to go 3D print that. So you go back to this Shapeways or Pinocchio, have that printed out.
Now Shapeways, Pinocchio, I could take, now the 3D model part, how complicated is that? I mean, I'm used to 2D, you know, and then.
Well, let's work our way out.
Yeah, okay.
So 2D, and that's a good thing for Pinocchio. They do laser cutting and laser etching. Okay. So think if you were going to build your own version of the IKEA bookshelves, only you wanted to build it for a dollhouse, so it's going to be that big.
Right, okay, great.
Great. So they have all these great pieces of flat stock. You could do it out of bamboo, and you could literally laser cut out these little pieces, and they all fit together because you design the slots to fit together, and that goes in your dollhouse. And you know, your daughter comes home and goes, "Wow, I have sheets for my dollhouse." And then everybody says, "Why didn't you get your doll a Kindle? Then you could just set it on the nightstand." That's a different story. So what you want to be able to do is that's kind of the 2D level. You design flat with Adobe Illustrator or any CAD program that will make a DXF file. And then there's Inkscape, I believe, is the free open source 2D vector drawing program. So there's lots of free options to do that. Again, Google SketchUp is another one where you can download for free, draw all you want in 2D and 3D, and then export useful files. So Google SketchUp and Blender are some good ones for 3D that are free downloads. I myself use SolidWorks, which is a more professional item set.
Because you're a professional guy.
But that's where we make these big engineering things that aren't going to go apart. This is an actual first injection molded part. We just announced on our site that we actually have.
So it's off the presses now.
Yeah. So previously on your show, I had actually shown a prototype, and that was cut with
great.
Basically,
I didn't know the difference.
It was cut with big machine tools.
I see.
So because of that, it was made of a single piece of material, but it was actually of a big block, and they actually cut the whole thing out. This was only ever this shape as it was shot into the mold. And now we're doing what's called refining the mold. So there's little things that we have to adjust by, the tiniest bit of a millimeter, and we have to come back in and do that.
So what you're saying is that anybody who has those kind of projects in mind and feels, gosh, I probably need a PhD in engineering to do anything. See, that's not true anymore. No, not at all.
You need to be very technically savvy.
Yeah.
But you don't need a PhD in engineering.
But again, there's help out there for the technical stuff too. That's probably more reasonable. There's a lot of help, and a lot of people that will help. The thing to really keep in mind is whether you're making one or whether you're making a million, and that's the big distinction. Right.
So if you're making one, you can do some things on aesthetics. So you can make the outside really super glossy with paint and come in and lacquer it up really great and set it on your shelf, and it looks amazing. And that one is going to look like that, and it'll work very well. To make a million of it, you might need to do some very intense processing of whatever that is to get that right. But to make one, even 10 sometimes, is pretty okay. You can be there with your hands to make sure everything goes right. So you'll see a lot of the people that do things like the fancier props people get, like movie props, and some great Etsy stuff, which will be hand finished, and that way they can ensure, and it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned with all the others. Versus if you're making 1,000, 10,000, a million.
What do you feel that people have in their mind that stops them from just using all this stuff? I mean, what do you think the misconceptions are?
It's still. Remember, if you were to buy one of the things you want at production, it would probably be 8 times cheaper.
Right.
Versus it's going to take you the time to learn. It's going to take you acquiring the materials, learning the software, and actually executing your design. So all that time and effort, it's a lot of effort. But if you're the only one creating your idea, then it's definitely
it's not so much money that's important, it's time. To invest
in this case, in the maker area, time is of the essence. The faster you can work, the less money you spend. Because time is money.
I've heard that before.
Exactly. So that's the thing to really think about when you're working on a project such as this is, okay, I want to make this thing. And it's this very complex thing. Well, this very complex thing, I know how to do this part. Maybe my buddy's great at electronics and my other buddy can really paint stuff well. And that's kind of, you kind of come together and make that thing right. But the real thing to know for our conversation and that people can be aware of is these tools are out there that you can use to put together these products and to really get to a first level that you could go and present to somebody and say,
to see if there's a market.
Does this look like a thing that anybody would use? You could hand it to them and they would go, I don't know if this is a
or
real
you could put
piece.
it on a crowdfunding site.
Exactly. Well, one of the things about crowdfunding sites, and this is what I tend to tell people is, it's one thing just to put it out there. It's another to be prepared to make 1,000 of them.
Yes.
100,000.
You have to be prepared.
And if you're going to go that route, make sure you're not finishing it to design for one.
Right.
You need to be
all the other stuff.
Ready.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of
but that
crowdfunding
takes time and not so much money. So
exactly.
Again,
you're going for a high fidelity prototype as fast as you can.
Right, exactly.
And to learn.
Because if you're hot, nobody wants to wait, and then you got it. Well, we got to run because my computer's going to run out of time. Well, you're so nice to share this, Fred. I mean, I really think, it's inspiring to hear from somebody like you that, did so many projects like this and made so much money designing things from scratch that
it's a lot of
the world has changed, and this is out there for all of us to start learning, because then we could contribute more like you are, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and remember, you want to go take it to somebody and see how to sell it. You can make a little cardboard package really quickly that you just, it looks like a real package. You can print out on your regular printer some paper to go right on that before you fold it up.
I understand. It's all there. So the advantages of living in the 21st century or the 22nd century, whatever it is. It's a lot of fun. Well, thank you again, Fred. Take care. And to find your latest project is Foobler, Foobler, thefubler.com, right?
That is correct. And
wonderful.
It's
a great
right now,
toy.
so you can still click even if you missed the Kickstarter.
Wonderful. Well, I want them for me because I want suits that color. Take care, Fred. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks again.